Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. We're doing a little classic wrestling Wednesday. We're going to be talking about the WWF in 1994. This is like the dog days of the WWF. They are doing everything they can do, honestly, to just try to find a way to survive. They've got stars on their roster. I don't want to say that they're putting people in the wrong places, but as of right now, I mean, WWF needs just a spark to try and get something to get people re-interested in the product. They're kind of not really doing the kiddie thing that they tried doing like in 1992 and 1993. They're not really into the Attitude Era, but they are starting to lean on stars as like sort of like more real life gimmicks instead of everybody having some sort of a job like Duke the Dumpster Drosy. It's just a weird point in time. Right now, we're going to be talking about Survivor Series 1994, which was a really big pay per view for the WWF. The Undertaker, after I guess you could say dying in January of 1994 at the Royal Rumble, made his return at SummerSlam when he fought himself. Undertaker versus Undertaker, that was brought to you by the Million Dollar Corporation at the time, which was like the main heel group led by Ted DiBiase, who was buying contracts up a lot like the NWO. That would be in WCW, but these guys just kind of were past their prime guys that they were used as the main heels on the on the roster, but they just really didn't have anything to offer to make you really want to care about really what was going on. This pay-per-view itself had some of the most weirdest matches, had one of the worst WWF title matches that you will ever see. As most Survivor Series do, they give you just a Survivor Series match that is just horrible. After striking out on the team of Men on a Mission and the Bushwhackers coming out as the Four Doinks, they do it again, led by a team of the Doinks. The Clowns Are Us going up against the royal family of Jerry Lawler and three midget wrestlers. I guess maybe they think that they struck gold at WrestleMania 3 with Bundy, Hillbilly Jim, and those wrestlers. That there's no way in the world that we can strike out twice, but it's bad. It's just really bad. Overall, I thought this pay per view was pretty good, but it's hard to say that it was like good to great because of the WWF title match between Bob Backlund and Bret Hart and the Doink and Jerry Lawler Survivor Series match. It features in the opening bout, probably looked at as one of the best Survivor Series matches of all time. It always kind of stuck out at me. My buddy, Freaking Yaya 88, he always called the wild card match at Survivor Series 1994 one of his favorite Survivor Series matches of all time. It pitted up the bad guys against the Teamsters. And this matchup, as I was a kid when I was watching, and even today, doesn't really make sense to me. It's almost like it was like a wrestling match that happened in gym class, and the class went up against the wall, and they chose two captains, and they picked teams. I don't know if Vince McMahon drew names out of a hat on an episode of Superstars and just said, this is what the Survivor Series is going to be this year. It was interesting. It just didn't really make a lot of sense that baby faces and heels would team up together against another team of baby faces and heels. I guess it's one way to get, the click minus Triple H. I'm not really sure where he was at this time and place in WWF, if he was injured or just not used on the card. This matchup right here, it was kind of surprising that he wasn't in there because you found a way to get the 1-2-3 Kid, Razor Ramon, Diesel, and Shawn Michaels all into a matchup at one time. But the bad guys, which was led by Razor Ramon, had a team of the 1-2-3 Kid, the British Bulldog, Fatu, and Sione. Sione, the wrestler most famously known as the Barbarian, who was wrestling at the time at Sione. I guess maybe they were thinking if he went out there with the gimmick of his own name, maybe he would find a way to get over. I don't know if it's maybe because they didn't have the Warlord under contract at this time. They didn't want him going out there as the Barbarian and always wondering why he didn't have his partner. But to me, I'm looking at him and I'm just saying, why is his name that? Why is he not the Barbarian? And where's his partner? I gave you everything I was thinking at the time. They went up against the Teamsters, who were led by Shawn Michaels, who had his backup Diesel, Jeff Jarrett, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and Owen Hart. At this time, Diesel and Shawn Michaels are your tag team champions. We've seen Diesel and Shawn just about all over the card at this point. Shawn has wrestled for the WWF Championship unsuccessfully against Bret Hart. He's been, the Intercontinental Champion. Diesel has been the Intercontinental Champion. But just a weird time and place. There's a monumental house show that takes place the next night at Madison Square Garden. More to come on that, but I don't know if the decision was already made. But this, started out as a normal Survivor Series match. And about 10 minutes into the match, Diesel gets tagged in and just does the Diesel spot from the Royal Rumble. We still call it that to the day, but he does it in the Survivor Series match. Takes at Fatu, the 1-2-3 Kid, and Sione, in all the matter of about a minute. At that point, he hits a power bomb on Razor Ramon. It looks like Diesel is going to do a clean sweep at the Survivor Series and eliminate everybody on the opposing team, and his team is going to have a perfect run, not having anyone eliminated. But Shawn Michaels wants to be the exclamation point on the match. He's asking for a tag. Diesel, who at the time is friends with Shawn, I guess in storyline still kind of works for Shawn as Shawn's muscle, as his bodyguard, gives him the tag. As Shawn gets in, he demands that Diesel picks up Razor Ramon. They're going to hit him with the Sweet Chin music. And as Shawn Michaels warms up the band, he kicks Diesel right in the chin. At this point, this is probably like the second or third time that this has happened. We've seen Shawn eliminate Diesel from the Royal Rumble, where he just was like the 10th man that ran over and tossed him out, and Diesel saw it in the footage. They started kind of played that off as like every man for themselves. We've seen Shawn, kick Diesel on accident. We've seen it where it kind of really looks like he kicked him on purpose, but this was like, we're done. No more of this shit. And Diesel and Shawn are chasing each other around the ring. At this point, everyone else that is occupied in this match is trying to calm down Diesel and Shawn. We have the British Bulldog, Jeff Jarrett, Jim Neidhart, Owen Hart, and Shawn Michaels all counted out as the Razor Ramon is the only one left in the ring and wins as your sole survivor. Vince McMahon says that it is the very first time that anyone has ever won a Royal Rumble. Ever won a Survivor Series match where he did not personally pin or eliminate anyone in the match. Everyone counted out. At this point, Shawn basically runs to the back and is being interviewed by Todd Pettengill as he is grabbing his bag and he is running out of the arena, shoving it into his car. He throws down the tag title. He basically says that he wants nothing to do with Diesel anymore, that the team has split, and drives out of the arena. A big, like, what the hell has just happened? It is a very, very good match. It's a very memorable match, but it still has a lot of question marks on, like, how were these teams put together? Why were these teams put together? Just kind of thing. Maybe they needed a way to make Razor look good by being able to win the match, but then also get over the Shawn Michaels and Diesel breakup in this. On the announced team, it's got to be said that it's very weird pairing. It's almost like they had to find a last minute replacement. Vince McMahon calls the action with Gorilla Monsoon. Gorilla Monsoon is filling in for the Macho Man Randy Savage, who is normally on the announced team for big pay-per-views for the WWF, but he recently received an offer to go wrestle for WCW, and he really felt that the WWF wasn't using him right, that he still wanted to be a full-time wrestler. Vince looked at him as somebody that, could wrestle maybe a house show here or there, maybe a pay-per-view along the way. He was used in the Survivor Series a couple of years beforehand when it was him and the Ultimate Warrior who teamed up against Ric Flair and Razor Ramon. So he was still being used, but he wanted to be used more. He didn't really think that his career was done. He was pitching ideas. I know he wanted to have a feud getting over Shawn Michaels. At the time, he really saw a future in Shawn before anybody else saw it, and was turned down on this, that, and the other, and just basically saw limited dates, more wrestling being heavily featured. They put the strap on him in WCW pretty fast. And if you remember right, we're in between WrestleMania 10 and WrestleMania 11. WrestleMania 8, they put the title on Savage, and that was kind of Vince looking at Savage like that was his last run. That was he had sort of, done everything, but, Savage wrestled regularly until WCW 2000. He makes an appearance for TNA, I want to say in like 2003. And I think that was pretty much the last time we ever saw him, besides for like in the Spider-Man movie. And then he made a cartoon movie where he was at the movie premiere until he did that figure reveal video for Mattel in like 2010. He makes that commercial for WWF Superstars, the video game, and then he has that heart attack and he passes away. Sad stuff there, but Gorilla Monsoon fills in. Very weird, very old. It would be the last time we saw Gorilla Monsoon do announcing for a pay-per-view, but it would not be the last time we saw him. We see him at WrestleMania 15 as one of the judges for the Brawl for All match. The Royal Family going up against Clowns Are Us. This match is bad, not good at all. Basically, the Royal Family gets the win. After the win, Jerry Lawler is yelling at his three midget wrestlers that were dressed up as kings, telling them to put their arms down. He's trying to take the credit for the whole match. They won. He just kind of turns on them. They keep raising their hands, being the victors of the match, and he chases them out. At that point, the other three Doink miniature wrestlers joined the fracas, and now everybody's chasing Jerry Lawler. Lawler runs away like he's gonna run to the back locker room and ends up running right into Doink, who hits him in the face with a pie. From there we go to Bob Backlund going up against Bret the Hitman Hart. Bob Backlund was a very weird wrestler. If you go back and watch WrestleMania 9, which is like when he came back to the company and he's having his first big match against Razor Ramon. He doesn't really fit in with what's going on at all. I don't know if this guy's in his 40s, in his 50s. As I was a kid, I thought this was like my grandpa getting into the ring. I did not get it. They talk about the fact that he had been WWF champion 11 years beforehand. 11 years when you're 12 feels like 400 years beforehand. It just didn't click with me, didn't really make sense. This match today is as bad as it was when I was a kid. 35-minute match. About the last 10 minutes of the match is just Bob Backlund holding Bret Hart in a chicken wing. Because of the fact when Bob Backlund had lost the WWF title way back in the day, it was when his manager threw the towel in, basically saying that, on the behalf of Bob Backlund, that he was tapping out. He didn't want to see Bob be put in any more hurt. That is what they did here. Owen Hart talks Helen Hart, the mom of Bret the Hitman Hart, and also the mom of Owen Hart, to throw in the towel and basically say that he can take no more. Owen Hart does not celebrate with the championship, but he does celebrate with the towel like he is the new WWF champion. He's holding it over his head. He runs all the way back to the locker room, showing it to all the fans that want to see it. I was just majorly shocked. I didn't know where they were going. In my mind, it doesn't really make sense. When you think about Bret Hart only a few years from now really caring about wanting to be the WWF champion, here he is dropping the strap. Is he worried about where his spot's going to be? Is he thinking he's just going to get it right back? Of course, the next night at Madison Square Garden, Diesel, who is involved in that opening tag match, beats Bob Backlund in like 15 seconds for the WWF Championship. That is them moving to the new generation. That is them putting, all of the faith in Diesel. Bret kind of like falls into like the Hulk Hogan role after like WrestleMania 6. Still heavily featured, not the champion, but a weird spot for him to be in. It's almost like the writing on the wall that like he would be champion again, but it's almost like, hey, we tried this, it didn't work, now we're gonna try the big guy. Vince always loved the big guys, and Diesel/Kevin Nash always worked for me. This one was a weird one for me. The $1 Million Team going up against Guts and Glory, a team led by Lex Luger going up against the $1 Million Corporation. Bam Bam Bigelow, King Kong Bundy, Tatanka in the ring with the Heavenly Bodies, Jimmy Del Rey and Tom Pritchard, who were not members of the $1 Million Team, but they needed to fill out this team, so they're members tonight. Guts and Glory, led by Lex Luger, Adam Bomb, the Smoking Guns, and Mabel. I think an accident pretty much happens during this match when Mabel gets dumped out of the ring and almost lands on his head. And then Mabel is basically counted out during this match. Because of the way that he lands, he just doesn't get up. He's just, too damn big. I'm not 100% sure, but I think, that's basically the what happened. Lex Luger, you got to think, it's him in his last days in the company. I'm not even sure if he knows it, but his WCW days got to be coming soon. As I talked about with Bret, sort of being placed somewhere else on the card. Luger, the year before, his huge run against Yokozuna, WrestleMania 10, being a Royal Rumble winner and as a part of the WWF tournament, I guess you can call it, with the 2 matches for the WWF Championship with Bret Hart and Yokozuna. But Luger, I don't know, like, it just, as big as I thought he was as a kid, looking back now, I guess he just didn't really get over the way he wanted to. They wanted him to. So at this match, he gets the win, but it's almost no. I apologize. He loses this match. That's what was shocking. Lex Luger, he basically gets a pin onto Tonka, who he was having the big feud with. If you remember right, they were going back and forth about Tatanka was saying that Lex Luger was taking the $1 Million Man's money and he was going to join the corporation. And in the end, it ends up being Tatanka that was the one taking the money. They have the big steel cage match on Monday Night Raw. They have the match that nobody really remembers or cares about from SummerSlam. But then right after Luger pins Tatanka, King Kong Bundy comes in. Just lands the giant splash on Lex Luger. I don't know if they were setting up house show matches or something like that. And Bam Bam Bigelow and King Kong Bundy win this match. Not even Tatanka, the guy that was really feuding with Luger. Bam Bam Bigelow and King Kong Bundy. Really big surprise. At least Bam Bam Bigelow is going on to WrestleMania to have the big match after the Royal Rumble with Lawrence Taylor. But just really surprising. Doesn't really make any sense there. We go to the main event of the night. The Undertaker versus Yokozuna. This is a matchup, honestly, that you would think the WWF, they took some time out. They gave, Undertaker some time off after the Royal Rumble where they killed him in the casket match. And they decide they're going to go back to it. They're going to pay off on the gimmick of Undertaker against Yokozuna back in January. This was the big match that everybody cared about for who bought the Royal Rumble. And this time, they're going to decide that the heel roster is not going to be able to be getting involved in this match, which basically they came out and attacked The Undertaker 20-on-1 during that match. They say, hey, we're going to get none other than Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris was a huge star at the time. I think it was in syndication a lot like Baywatch was. I don't think he was on like a major network. Walker, Texas Ranger, a.k.a. the show that came on before Monday Night Raw for years, is at the Survivor Series. And he's going to be the guy that, plays the referee, the special enforcer, I guess you can say. I don't know how much money they gave Chuck Norris, but Chuck Norris was such a huge star that he shot up the buy rate for Survivor Series 1994 over 1993 by 50%. They were down a little bit from SummerSlam, a few months beforehand, but SummerSlam was a major pay-per-view for them. But definitely this Survivor Series, they got their money's worth out of Chuck Norris because people really believe that he was going to get in there and kick some ass. He does get involved in the match. He never gets actually into the ring. Maybe that was something he asked for money for or something like that. But, Undertaker and Yokozuna are fighting in this match. And at one point, Bam Bam Bigelow and King Kong Bundy come down to the ring like they're going to get involved. And Chuck Norris just gives them a stare. You ain't getting in this ring. They just have a stare down. And it's enough for, King Kong Bundy and Bam Bam Bigelow. I don't really know why they're so... If the $1 Million Man just has a problem with The Undertaker because he made him look bad at Survivor Series, the pay-per-view before this. I don't know if, Yokozuna and Mr. Fuji, maybe Jim Cornette, were paying the $1 Million Corporation to help them out. But they were heavily involved trying to get into this match. During this stare down, IRS jumps the rail on the opposing side, jumps into the ring. IRS able to beat up The Undertaker and throw him into the casket. And at that point, he's just I did my job, I'm out of there, and bails out. At this point, Undertaker is starting to fight off Yokozuna. He's coming back to life. We have Jeff Jarrett, a member of the heel roster, not involved with the $1 Million Corporation. Doesn't really make any sense that he's getting involved in this match, but he was involved in the Royal Rumble when everybody was coming out to make sure the Yokozuna lost. Maybe he just wanted to beat The Undertaker because he knew he couldn't do it, so somebody had to beat him so he wouldn't be around anymore. But as he's running down, he runs right into a super kick from Chuck Norris, who kicks his ass. At that time, they're just like, bam, bam, thank you, ma'am. We get to see Yokozuna dropped on his head and then rolled into the casket as Undertaker gets the win. He gets his revenge. He's not dead. He's back. And then we have Vince McMahon tell us that is the last time that you will ever see Yokozuna. They're really paying off that Zuna is in the casket. Now Zuna is dead. Zuna was make his return to the WWF, but I don't think we would see him for over a year. And until WrestleMania 11, when he makes his short return to the company. At this point, Yokozuna is really just piling on weight and is just not in good health. WWF did everything in the world to try and save him, but just there was nothing they could do. Like I said, overall, the Bret Hart match with the 9-minute chicken wing, the minis match, with Doink and Jerry Lawler, not good. Rest of the show, pretty good, but overall, not great one. But yeah, give it a watch one day.